Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in this segment of the program, Mr. Bob Asmussen, is the Illini beat writer for the Champaign News-Gazette and IlliniHQ.com. Bob, it is always good to talk to you, sir. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for making time for us. It's always, like I said, it's always great to have you on the program. Bob, I have to confess, I'm a diehard Mets fan. It was a tough weekend for me, but Saturday night was the highlight. The Mets actually won a game. So I have to admit, I was pretty much glued to the Mets game Saturday night and flipped to the Illini game at the breaks and such. But a really solid defensive effort against Iowa. Was the game as bad as the score looked?
Well, no, the game was good if you like defense. If you like kicking and punting and defense, it was a great game. And obviously, I think Illinois was hurt badly by losing the quarterback during the game. Tommy DeVito suffered an ankle injury fairly early in the game. They were a different team without him. They played better with him on the field. Without him, they were kind of limited at what they could do. So I think the game was actually like Illinois kind of needed it to be that kind of game to be able to win, and that all they cared about was the final score. They didn't care about winning by 20, winning by 30. They just wanted to win the game, get to 5-1, and tie for first in the Big Ten West.
A win's a win, right? There's no
Exactly.
style points in college football.
Definitely not. No, I mean there are if you're fighting for a playoff spot, but I don't think Illinois is going to be there this year. But it is important for Illinois to get these wins and get to a bowl game and get in the top 25, all those things are really important to this team right now.
Yeah, definitely. Chase Brown continues, Bob, his just reign of dominance in terms of the rushing attack. I believe this is now the 5th straight week he leads the country in rushing. I want to say he's in the Heisman conversation, but my goodness, it's hard to ignore the leading rusher in the country.
Right. He definitely is not in the conversation because that number is not going to go away. And he's going to keep adding to this. He's going to be counted on to be the guy every game the rest of the season. So I'm looking at his year. He has a really good chance to be the single season record holder for rushing yards at Illinois. We'd break Mikhail Lashor's number from about a decade ago.
Uh-huh.
So I think he's heading toward that. If that happens, he's definitely in the Heisman conversation. No question.
Interesting. Bob, so Iowa, they win 9-6. I have got to confess, I was completely stunned at how easily they handled Wisconsin. I thought Wisconsin marched down the field on that opening drive, and I thought, oh boy, here we go. It's another trip to Madison where Illinois is going to get dominated. And after that, they shut down the Badgers, and they dominated from that point on. How about Wisconsin?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It was surprising. I thought Illinois would score a lot of points in that game for some reason, and they did. Wisconsin did not score a lot of points. So I think you got to give credit to the defense just playing really lights out in that game, and the offense did enough. They took advantage of some short fields, but they really played well. That's about as good as I've seen Illinois play really in a long time.
Yeah.
I'd say in a decade. Really, they just dominated the game in all facets, and winning in there hadn't happened for 20 years for Illinois. So think how amazing that is. The fact they went up there, had been losing year after year after year. A lot of those games they got beat pretty badly. So this game they just went up there and took it to them. Never let the fan base get in the game. So it was really kind of a dead crowd by the time the game was over. There was almost nobody there from Wisconsin. All the Illinois fans were there, of course.
Yeah. And a good Illinois contingent. I had 2 or 3 friends that told me they went up to that game on that Saturday.
Well, and the tickets were available. Wisconsin is not selling out. I think that's one of the reasons Wisconsin made a coaching change. They were concerned about the direction of the program, so they hired their defensive coordinator as head coach. I think he'll be the permanent guy, Jim Leonard. He'll be named probably pretty shortly as the head coach beyond this year. But they wanted to make a change, and they had to. I think that game kind of convinced them because you look the next day, the coach is fired. So it tells you that was not an indication that they were embarrassed they lost to Illinois. It's more indication of how badly they thought their team had slept. So now more of a credit to Illinois for how how much they exposed to Wisconsin this year.
Well, and so this is interesting, Bob, because I've heard some people say, perhaps Brett Bielema could be a candidate to come back to Wisconsin. But on the other side, I've also heard Wisconsin people don't really like Brett Bielema that much. And so my question was, and you kind of answered it a little bit there, but my question was, the fact that maybe there is some contingent in Madison that still doesn't like Bielema, and he just went in there and just completely kicked their butts. Was it the fact that you had kind of a perfect storm, I guess, as you kind of talked about there? The program wasn't going in a great direction. Illinois comes in, led by Brett Bielema, the former Wisconsin coach, beats their brains in. How about that aspect of the timing of Paul Chryst firing?
Well, yeah, I think that's part of it, but I don't think there was any chance he was ever going back there.
No.
They wouldn't want to hire him because he left them, and so he left. There were some unhappy people when he left, including Barry Alvarez. They weren't happy when he left. They're not going to hire him back. They got their coach lined up, and I keep hearing that Coach Bielema will move on somewhere after this year. I don't think there's any chance that's going to happen. I think he's here because what Illinois did was they threw him a lifeline. The coach was in the NFL as an assistant coach, was not a head coach, and they brought him back as a head coach at his school in the Big Ten where he grew up in the States. So to me, right now, this is perfect for him. They built a house. He's got 2 little kids. He's going to be here a long time. I really believe he has a chance to finish. He's 50, I think 52, 53. I think he will be here at least for the next 10 years, maybe longer. So we'll see.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point you brought up, that lifeline that Illinois threw him, and kind of a second opportunity in the college game. So there's a little bit of loyalty there. It sounds like that's an interesting take there, Bob. Speaking of interesting takes, again, our guest on the phone, Bob Asmussen, Illini beat writer for the Champaign News Gazette, IlliniHQ.com. Bob, Illinois in the top 25 for the first time in over a decade. I know you're a top 25 voter. Talk to me a little bit about how you approach this, your reaction when you saw Illinois in the rankings on Sunday evening.
Well, I put them number 23. And I will say, going into Saturday, I did not think they'd make the top 25. I thought, because last week they got a few votes, but I didn't think that they'd be able to jump high enough to get in the top 25. But I looked at all the other teams available, and they, to me, were at least in the top 25 and maybe a little bit better than that. I actually, at one point on Saturday, had them like 21st, 22nd. I had to move them down because I had a couple of other teams that needed to be in there. But yes, they definitely, what they've done to this point, to be 5-1, now if they'd beaten Indiana and were 6-0, they'd be in the top 15. But they're not, because they lost that game. So that kind of hangs over their head a little bit. But to me, it was pretty easy to put them in, honestly. And I think what's going to happen, if they beat Minnesota this week, which I think they can, then they have an open week. So what will happen if they win this game and they have the open week, going in the Nebraska game late in October, they're going to be pretty highly ranked. They will probably be close to the top 15, which is kind of crazy given where they were last 3, 4, or 5 years.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, Bob, how do you balance? I mean, I know you watch a lot of college football. We were talking about that before we got started. You're very much a fan of the game and a student of the game and all of those things. How do you balance? You see this team every week, and I'm sure there's something inside of you that says, man, these are good kids. They're well coached. It's a likable coach. It's a likable program right now. How do you, did you have to balance that and maybe putting them in the top 25 a week earlier? How do you manage your personal feelings versus objectivity, I guess?
Well, that's a great point, because you have to do that. It's not fair to rank the teams based on what your personal biases are. So because I cover Illinois, you think, well, of course I got to rank Illinois. Well, it doesn't work like that. I view it as it's my job to pick the teams that are deserving to be in the spots they're in. So I've had Ohio State number 1 all year, not because I'm loyal to the Big Ten, but because I think that's the best team. So I think Illinois they earn the spots. If anything, I'm probably more critical of them because I do see them all the time. So I probably don't give them a break. I probably do the opposite, which I try to find the balance there too. So make sure I judge them properly, and I think I do. I have to write about it all the time. You're right. I know the kids. I know the coaches. They're likable people. They're really friendly. But I have to also balance it against my job, which is do the right thing. And I think I've done that to this point. I think they definitely deserve, in my mind, to be number 23. If they win Saturday, they're going to deserve to climb up several spots. I don't know how many. A lot depends on who wins or loses around them. So sometimes you have a team that ahead of them, maybe a couple spots, they lose, it looks bad. So you think, okay, well, there's a spot for Illinois to climb up. So they go to 22, 21, 20, whatever happens based on the teams. And I look at the schedule this week, college football schedule this week. There's a lot of games, top 25 against top 25. So somebody's going to lose one of those games, right? So Illinois has a chance to climb quite a bit because of that. So if they win, take care of their business, they will keep climbing.
Well, Bob, let's take a time out and come back and talk about this upcoming game against Minnesota and the next few weeks after that, because it is a very favorable schedule for the Illini. Where do folks follow your works at?
Go to Illini HQ and Bob Asmussen and Illini HQ.
Bob Asmussen, IlliniHQ.com, our guest on the phone. More to come with him on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW. .org.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn lower, beans higher, wheat double-digit lower. December corn $6.94 down 4 1/4. March corn down 4 1/2, $7 1 1/4. May corn $7.01 down 4 3/4. November beans $13.77 up 3. January beans up 3, $13.88 3/4. March beans $13.98 1/4 up 3. December wheat $9.07 3/4 down 30 1/4. March wheat down 28, $9.23 1/2. October bean meal $4.1070 up 5.80. October bean oil down 54 cents, 69.54. In the livestock market, October feeders 173.87 up 177. October live cattle 145.40 up 70 cents. And October lean hogs 93.05 down 70 cents. In the energy market, November crude oil 89.12. That's down $2.01. I'm Jim Taylor for the RFD Radio Network.
Are you a friend of agriculture? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. We're giving a $500 Friends of Ag discount to anyone that orders a new Chevrolet or Buick to be built just for you this month. Are you a friend of ag? You are if you're a member of any ag organization employed by any ag-related business, including research, inputs, manufacturing, sales, and marketing, and of course, ag education. Come in, order yours today. BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Ace now offers free assembly and free delivery, so it's never been easier to get a great grill for your family, like a Weber gas grill, a Traeger wood pellet grill, or a Big Green Egg charcoal grill. Only at your neighborhood Ace. Around the block. What you need in stock. With people who know their grills.
This is Brad from Gibson Ace Hardware in Clinton, Illinois. Stop in to see us, the helpful place at 114 North Madison Street, Clinton.
See participating store for details.
Hello, Panther fans. This is the voice of the Eastern Illinois University Panthers, Mike Brad, inviting all of our fans from Peoria and Bloomington Normal to the Indiana state line to listen for Panther football again this fall on WHOW's many platforms. EIU Panther football is part of WHOW's great weekend sports programming schedule, including a Best of Clinton Maroon sports broadcast and CBS Sports Radio. We'll bring you every Panther game this fall on Central Illinois' news, ag, and sports station, WHOW.
Despite supply chain issues, owner Dave Jackson's great team of employees at your Clinton Save-A-Lot are working to keep their shelves stocked to save you up to 40% every day. Find out more by clicking their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Peterson Insurance Services in Clinton is a 2014 Pekin Insurance Illinois Agency of the Year. Jay Peterson here from Peterson Insurance. Find out about Pekin's auto, home, or life insurance by clicking on our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. Bob Asmussen, IlliniHQ.com, Illini, or the Champaign News Gazette, Illini beat writer, our guest on the phone in this segment of the show. And Bob, Illinois takes on Minnesota for the homecoming game on Saturday. Can the Illini beat the Gophers without Tommy DeVito?
They can. Will they? We'll see. but they think they need to be a careful game. Don't have a lot of turnovers. Don't have a lot of dumb unforced penalties. But yeah, they could definitely beat them. The defense at Illinois right now is playing so well. I think it's going to be hard for Minnesota to move the ball up and down the field. So I think Illinois get a turnover or two against Minnesota and take advantage of that. And also Art Tarkowski has been in his position before and done well. So I think he will give them. He's a good backup to have. They'll be fine, and Chase Brown's there. So I think they have a chance to win. I'm going to pick Illinois to win a close game. I think it'll be maybe a 27-21 game, something like that.
Is it just me, or has PJ Fleck been just a huge disappointment at Minnesota?
No, he's done well. I think he's done well. I think he's had moments where he was not quite as great as they thought they would be. But this year they're doing well. Last year they were good. I think he's done pretty well there. They've been to bowls every year. They've been competent. Their recruiting is pretty good. He works hard. So I think he's been a good fit for them.
Maybe this is an unfair question, so forgive me if it is. Who'd you rather have, PJ or Brett Bielema?
Well, if I'm Illinois, I like Bielema because he's from the state. Of course, Fleck is too. I just think he's a little more genuine. PJ Fleck is kind of a hyper, kind of a all out kind of guy. I don't think he would be quite as good a fit. I don't think the people here would buy into that. I think Bielema is much more calm, much more reassuring. I think he just has a better fit for this community, fit for the school. And I think the school likes him. I think the AD likes him. I think obviously the results are really good at this point.
Brett Bielema's just got this, he's got that farmer presence about him, just kind of calm, he understands there's going to be ups and downs. He doesn't get too high with the highs, doesn't get too low with the lows. He just got a lot of farmer in him, and I'm sure that's a lot of his background too. But it's just kind of interesting as you were talking there. I kind of came to that realization.
Yeah, it's a great point. He's a farm kid, grew up with a hog farm, and his parents obviously salt of the earth type people. They worked hard, really worked hard. And I think that's just showing up now. And I think he's earned everything he's gotten as a coach. But I think you got to give his family and his parents a lot of credit for raising a guy that does work so hard. Has everything. What I keep hearing about him is how organized he is.
Yeah.
That probably comes from growing up on the farm, having to be up at the crack of dawn, doing all these things. Farmers are good. That's what we come down. Farmers are good.
Bob, got to let you go, my man. Always good to have you on the phone. Bob Asmussen, Illini beat writer, our guest. Network News is now.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM, W222 BG Clinton, 106.5 FM, W293 DJ Normal Bloomington.
His appeal. Roof fatally shot 9 people at a historically black church in Charleston, South Carolina back in